What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a little bit since I put a video up, but I got a pretty good one right now for the diesel guys. Got this, I believe 2000, can't remember, whatever, 98 to 02 truck. A couple weeks ago we put an injection pump from Blue Chip on it. A couple days went by and no, not a couple days, few weeks at least, and it was back to a hard start. The original pump had a hard start, which it went through. I know it was stock lift pump and then 2 Raptor lift pumps, and they're junk. They took out the Vp44. So we got a new pump put on it. We did a fast fuel system at the same time. It wasn't a couple weeks after that we had a hard start issue. I diagnosed it as the VP being bad, as per Blue Chip's instructions on how to diagnose it. I got it to do a hard start, couldn't get to start, so I cooled the injection pump off with a hose. Sounds funny, but it does work. It cools that injection pump down, tolerances are tighter, fires right off. Called Blue Chip, said, hey, this is the issue. They said send it back in. So I did that. A couple weeks go by, we get it back, I put it back on. Next day, guy calls me, says, hey, it's hard starting again. It's actually almost pretty much left me stranded in town. Alright. A couple days go by, I did as much research as I could, and I ended up finding a little snippet of information on Thoroughbred Diesel's website about the injection pump having a hard start issue and it not being the injection pump. It was actually the aftermarket lift pump, Faster Air Dog, creating too much pressure when it's starting, and that fuel, it almost creates a flooding of the engine, but it's like almost bypassing the injection pump and going not where it's supposed to. And that's just kind of from what I've read, it's just pretty much because of the reman pumps. There's like 2 or 3 stages that you can rebuild these pumps in, and it gets, I think, close to $3 grand for a stock rebuilt pump. So most guys, they're gonna go with the $1,200 or $2,000 rebuild. Well, not all parts in that are rebuilt and put back in new condition. So when you got these aftermarket fuel pumps pushing 15 to roughly 18 psi, it's creating a hard start. So evidently these injection pumps, that's not an injection pump. The injection pump will actually start better with 0 pressure, and I figured that out. So in order to keep that pump from turning on, the solution was to put it on a circuit that when you have it in the run position and you're cranking it, that circuit shuts off and the rest of the power is going to the starter. So I went and got one of those add a fuse links, which just goes in place of the fuse and it adds 2 more fuses into that. That way you can have another circuit coming off of it. So I got that. I was actually going to just snip the wire for the power that closes the relay to turn that pump on. But the fast system actually comes with one, and that's actually how it turns on. They want you to put it on that fuse right there, which is, I think it said, it's the engine fuse, number 9. But the one right beside it is radio. And I know for a fact radio shuts off when you're key on power. I'll show it right now. So I'm gonna barely bump it. It's not gonna start, but it shuts off. That's what I want. I want the pump to not see signal and it's not closing that relay to turn the pump on. So I want 0 pressure when it starts. That way when it does start, it's not overpressuring the pump and just bypassing it and going not to the injectors. So I'm actually going to show you guys with the noise of the pump. I'm going to face it towards it. I'm going to switch it back to the engine fuse, and then I'll switch it back to the radio fuse, and it'll show you. It'll start right up. It actually might. No, I don't. It ain't gonna be still warm. But I'm gonna do that real quick. Got key on power, and I'm gonna barely bump it, and it's still running. That's not what we want. Shut it back off. I'm going to switch this back to the radio spot. I'm going to put the keys back into the engine. I'm going to turn the key back on. Hear it running. I'm going to bump the key where it's going to act like it's going to start, but it's not. Shuts off exactly like the radio. So right now we're at 0 fuel pressure. I'm going to let it kick back on, and then I'm going to start it. It'll start right up. So that's what we're wanting. When he's drove 20, 30, 100 miles, it don't matter. As long as it's warm, that fuel pump is going to show 0 pressure when it's key on and cranking. It'll shut off exactly like the radio, so there's no power going to that relay for the fast fuel system, so it'll kind of shut off, show a 0 pressure scenario, so that VP just kicks right off. So I'm hoping this helps somebody in diagnosing the VP, but I'm gonna go drive it, get it hot, make sure it does it. But I'm almost positive it's gonna, what I just did fixes it. So if you got a 98 to 98.5 to 02, got a hard start issue, you just happen to put a fast fuel system on it, might look into this. So I'm gonna go drive it. We're gonna be right back. I do also want to add that when this issue arose with this truck and the customer was out somewhere and it was hard starting, it wouldn't actually start, I told him the next time it does that, it was, the information I found said to unplug the power, the main power fuse to the fast system. So he was in a no start, like it wasn't starting at all this time. It was just cranking and cranking and cranking. So he got out, popped the hood, unplugged that fuse right at the battery for that fast fuel system harness, unplugged it, got back in the truck, fired it up. He shut it off, put that fuse back in it, crank, 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 no start. Just did not want to start with that 15 to 18 psi, but it will start at the 0 psi. So he did it again, took the fuse out, started right up. So that's pretty much how I knew this was going to fix the issue. So, I mean, hopefully it helps somebody. So I just wanted to add that in the middle of this video. I'm going to be right back driving the truck and pulling shop, show you how it starts. So, be right back. Alright, so I took it about 4 miles, a mile of that being on the highway going up 70 mile an hour. I'm going to kind of let it sit for a minute or two. Kind of let that pump get heat soaked a little bit, even though it just came off a 4 mile trip. It is up to operating temp. I'm just going to make sure it starts right up the way it should. But I'm almost positive that's what the issue is. And hopefully this helps a lot of guys. Because I mean, it's either that or you replace the VP and If you just happen to put either fast or an air dog, I don't know if any fleece in tank pump will do it, but I would assume between the fast fuel system and the air dog, they're probably pushing both the same PSI. So I mean, if you just happen to put one of those on and you're having a hard start issue, easy enough to just pull a fuse, and if it starts right up, then there's your issue. You just need to have no power when you're starting. But again, I'm not knocking either of these pumps. I've installed I don't know how many fastest on my pickups, so I mean, good filtration system, good pump. But I'm hoping this, you know, saves somebody else some headache of having to replace a VP that wasn't ever bad just because of a hard start. I don't know how many times I've had to diagnose trucks with these injection pumps, and I've never had this issue come about. Which, now that I think of it, I don't even know if they had the fast fuel system, so it might have been irrelevant anyways. But so I'm gonna, luckily this thing has been bypassed on the clutch sensor, so I can just stand outside. It is in neutral. Do the little shaky shake. Turn the radio down. Listen to that pump. Kicked off. Fired right up. And just to prove it is operating temp, that's at 190 right now. So, and this, I wish this thing, it's one of those, it doesn't read exactly like real time, so it doesn't drop when you're starting it. I guess in a way it kind of does. It'll drop to 0 for a second and then it comes back online with pressure. But I'm almost positive this is going to solve the issue. So far it's just starting right away. It's actually quicker than it has been. Exactly like it should. So I hope this helps somebody. I know this is a little bit different from my welding stuff on my YouTube page, but I do both. I got this big lift, and I did go to school for mechanicing, just not diesel work. Diesel work just kind of came naturally when I was working on my own stuff. So I'm not a professional by no means, but what I do, I usually know a thing or two about it. I don't want to work on somebody's truck and just wing it. Hope this helps somebody save some money. If it is your issue, it is easy to diagnose. But I appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would greatly appreciate it if you would subscribe, if this is kind of the content you'd like. We do have some pretty good welding jobs coming up, so hopefully we'll get some of that. Some tube bending coming up. Actually, it's going to be part of the original bumpers that I built. We got to do something, continue something on there. So there'll be some tube bending on that. So if you guys like this, please hit the subscribe button, like it, share it. Appreciate you guys.